Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we'll be talking about a $45 watch. 45 bucks before tax. Right, so this is a 300-meter water-resistant watch, all stainless steel, and it's also a solar-powered watch, meaning that the battery on a full charge will just leave you to 6 months of usage without worrying about anything at all. So, to me, that sounds a bit too good to be true, but we do have the North Edge Triton with us, and it looks like this is the real deal. So let's go into the detail, let's unpack this watch and see what it really brings to the table. How nuanced is it? How many shortcuts were taken to get it down to this price? Anyways, the link to the listing is in the description below the video. Do check it out if you're after a sharp price. And now let's dive in and talk about this North Edge in detail. Let's do it. The North Edge Triton arrives with a spec sheet that almost dares you to question it. A solar-powered diver watch with 300 meters of water resistance, a fully stainless steel case and bracelet, and a ceramic bezel insert, and a claimed 6-month battery reserve. All for under 50 bucks before tax. There's no denying something's been sacrificed to reach this price. But before we get into the performance, let's look at what it's actually built like. And first up, the design. This is not a subtle watch. It's a brawler, slab-sided, full of mass, over 185 grams in weight before you remove any links. It's unapologetically brute in appearance and proportion. The case diameter comes in at 46.2 millimeters. The thickness is 15.8. That's serious wrist presence. And yet, the lug-to-lug length is only 51.3 millimeters, a surprisingly wearable dimension for those with flatter wrists. The lug width is beefy, 24 millimeters, tapering down to 20 at the clasp. Now, what's really striking is how the case is finished. Every surface is brushed, no polished chamfers, no decorative accents. It's industrial and raw in the best sense. The flanks are vertically brushed, giving it that tool watch vibe, and the lugs, almost architectural, jut downward quite aggressively. They're detached slightly from the mid-case, almost like welded beams. You can see this clearly in the side profile. A clear visual split between the top case layer, the flat sidewalls, and the screw-down case back lip underneath. The bezel is a fortress. It doesn't overhang the case like a traditional diver. Instead, it's recessed within the case footprint. But those tall, chunky grip teeth, they're reminiscent of castle battlements. You're not slipping on this bezel, even with gloves or wet hands. The insert itself is ceramic, with a glossy finish and white printed markings. Strangely, there's no lume pip at the 12 o'clock, which is an odd omission on a dive-rated bezel. But I'll chalk that up as one of the compromises. Over at 3 o'clock, we get a huge 7.2mm screw-in crown. It's brushed, signed, and slightly recessed into the case wall. That whole section looks like it was built to withstand a battering, and it might actually be able to. Despite the price, the machining around this crown area looks tight, with deep threads and clean integration. On the wrist, this piece is not going to disappear, but if you like your dive watches to feel like kit instead of jewelry, the Triton makes a loud, honest case for itself. Before diving deeper into Triton's pros and compromises, let's zoom in on what is keeping it ticking. Now, North Edge doesn't list the exact movement anywhere, not on their website, not on AliExpress, not even on Amazon. But after digging around, the most likely candidate here is the Epson VS42 Solar Quartz caliber. This movement is part of Epson's Eco Drive style lineup. The movement is accurate to plus minus 20 seconds a month in typical environments, meaning anything from 5 degrees all the way up to 50 degrees Celsius. The power cell is not your typical watch battery. Instead, it uses a manganese titanium lithium capacitor, a rechargeable cell that can store up to 6 months of energy on a full charge. Now, full charge time depends heavily on the light source. Using direct sunlight, you're looking at about 6 hours. On a cloudy day, up to 20 hours. Indoors, under artificial light, it could take anywhere between 60 and 100 hours, depending on intensity. But the point is, if you're outdoors now and then, it stays topped up. Now let's move on to the bezel. And unlike the more refined dive-style watches that gives us the satisfying 120-click precision, here we're working with a 60-click unidirectional bezel. That doubling of the spacing between detents is immediately noticeable. The action feels broader and the clicks are chunkier and slightly more smudged. There's no backplay as such, meaning the bezel does lock into each detent and won't drift in reverse, but there is forward flex, almost like a soft stretch between clicks. That slight smudging or over travel dampens the feel of precision. Alignment at 12 o'clock is correct only at the true detent, but if you leave the bezel mid-click, you'll see it off-center. The sound too is relatively muted, lacking the sharp click you get on tighter bezels. In terms of resistance, it's fairly even around the rotation, and while the feel is tight, it's also slightly cushioned, like the spring tension is high, but there's more give at each click. There's no luminous pip, so at night this bezel loses its timing utility. And now we turn to the bracelet. It's hefty. Like, we get 24mm at the lugs, tapering down to 20 at the clasp. This thing means business in size alone. But the moment you get your hands on it, it's clear. This is another cost-cutting situation. First off, there are no solid end links. The bracelet simply dangles off the spring bars. The design itself is a brushed 3-link configuration, and to its credit, the finish is consistent. Even the outer faces, usually reserved for polishing, stick to the matte utilitarian aesthetic. The bracelet is held together by push pins, fair enough at this price. But the clasp, it's a double pusher, pressed metal setup with no micro adjustments, no signature, and an overall feel that's frankly very budget. Flip the watch over and you're met with a screw-down case back. This one is held down with 4 screws. Now, the listing claims 300 meters of water resistance, but this case back design naturally raises eyebrows. It's not necessarily a deal breaker, but it's worth questioning, because true 300 meter water resistance usually demands more robust sealing. Let's shift our attention to the dial. Beneath the crystal, a brushed steel rehaut funnels your attention downward. And then we arrive at the dial itself, and there's quite a bit going on here. The outer ring is matte navy blue, printed with a white minute chaptering. Inside that, the main dial is sunburst, but also carries a wave-textured motif, echoing its dive watch DNA. It's bold, thematic, and keeps the visual energy moving. The indices are applied, edged in polished chrome, circular plots for most positions, elongated batons at 3, 6, and 9, and a double baton at 12. The hands are broadsword style and filled with luminous paint. The seconds hand is chrome with a red tipped lollipop, also lume filled. The branding is printed under 12, with the red Triton labeled just above 6, matching the seconds hand tip. It also notes 300 meters of water resistance, though as we've said, that's likely more of a claim than a promise. Now, under low light, the lume does not disappoint. The applied indices, hour and minute hands, and even that lollipop seconds hand all glow a bright, consistent green. Application is even, strong, and legible. So tell me, what do you make of this North Edge Triton? Now, as I assumed before we started off the review, yeah, there were quite a few cut corners. But then you have to, right, if you want to bring it to this sub $50 price. Is it a bad watch? I don't think so. I think it's very usable. I think it's very practical. If things were done better, for example, if we had sapphire crystal, well, that would push the price way up. But hey, we've got a movement, a solar-powered movement that seems quite dependable and known in the market. We have a stainless steel construction. Yeah, nuances, fair enough. But is it a recommend? I think it's an easy recommend, because at that price, there's not much competition at all. Not for this type of watch. If you did like it, please drop me a like, and also check out the affiliate link in the description below the video, the discount codes, as well as the link to my collection. So basically one place where we have all the watches we've been discussing lately in one place. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.